underneath our names. So I think we'll skip introductions apart from our city people. We have 2 city people here with us.
Sure. I'm Cassera Phipps. I'm with the city. I'm on the agenda tonight as a presenter.
Thank you. And Mr. Park?
Hi, this is Kyung Park. I'm on the agenda for presenting about the Beaverton night market we just had recently and some other event news.
Thank you. And it looks like we have 2 public attendees. Welcome. Anything else we need to do there, Lani, or?
We are recording.
Oh yeah. Go, Lani.
We're recording this meeting. So just wanted everyone to know that due to the new recent legislative change requiring this for public meetings.
And I just wanted to say for the public attendees, if you want to ask a question or make a comment, there's the Q&A feature on the bottom ribbon. You can also use the chat. And if you want to, at any point, make a comment using your audio or ask a question, just use the raise hand feature and Ellen will allow you to make your comment or your question.
So let's get to the city events update.
All right. Well, like I said, my name is Kyung Park. I work in the events program as the support specialist. We have definitely shifted our gears from doing normal city events to going virtual or reimagined. And one of the big things we had just completed was shifting the night market, which was typically held in the round with a lot of vendors and tents and just like a very interactive event, to going online. So, wow, it was already like a week ago. Friday and Saturday, we live streamed from the Beaverton Library 2 nights of presentations and short little video clips. And we had quite a bit of viewers. We're reaching about 2,000 views between the 2 videos. But for some of you that haven't seen it quite yet, I just kind of wanted to show you what our format was. So basically we had set up a stage and broadcast this video on YouTube and then also through TVC TV's access channels on channel 28 in both English and Spanish simultaneously. The objective of this event was, if we're going virtual, we still wanted to have like an interactive live component to it. So instead of just doing short little videos about each individual vendor, we decided, hey, let's just do something live. And I think it was a very interesting shift in how we approach events and such. But I think moving forward, like, hey, we might have to do these things more often given the new guidelines with COVID and stuff. So it was definitely a great learning experience for us and pretty successful as far as being able to reach our objectives and also engage the community in a completely different way. We moved it online, yet we were still able to engage in our community as wanted by the DAB, the Diversity Advisory Board, and also through like the events program's objectives. So if you haven't had a chance already, these videos that have been streamed live are available to you to view at any time. It's quite long, each going about 2.5 hours, but it's definitely something that you can piece together and see here and there. I just have it playing on the background, as you can see. But yeah, there's 2 different videos for that, and it was a completely different shift. But it came out very successful in the end. Like I said, about 2,000 views and lots of potential for future content generation and featuring like the vendors and our community. So that is kind of the overview of how we were able to shift our Beaverton night market to a virtual format. Just before I move on, I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything here. Oh yeah, we also sold some craft kits and we were able to maintain an element of sales for our vendors, which was pretty important as well, given the economy and everything. We're able to try to help vendors try to get sales out there through different channels that they have never really been exposed to, especially through that online sales efforts. Moving on, we do have a couple more virtual events coming up. The first one's actually this week. So this Wednesday and Thursday will be featuring a trivia movie night. It'll be a reimagined event from our Flicks event, which is typically we set up a big screen up in City Park and everybody comes out in the lawn and puts out blankets and chairs. Since we are moving away from doing in-person events, we decided to host 2 trivia themed nights. The first one being Disney on this Wednesday, both starting at 7, and then Thursday, the Harry Potter themed trivia quiz with prizes, and everybody's invited to join. We still have plenty of spots and spaces open for registration. So if you are interested, I think you're able to see this. This is the beavertonoregon.gov/flicks. It'll lead you to this page where you can register. You and your teammates, you're welcome to join as a group so that you can kind of pool your knowledge together and hopefully win a prize. So these are some the next upcoming event that we have here this week. The final one I wanted to share with you was how we shifted our focus of doing a parade virtually and decided, hey, the best way we can engage the community and still pull that off is to do something kind of similar to what the night market did, which was to collect videos and exhibitions from our community. So what we're doing right now, and we're still open for about 1 more week, is we're collecting submissions of videos, photos of crafts, hobbies, performances, pets from our community members. We're asking people to submit these with the theme of Beaverton together, with the B portion of Beaverton being used to have a secondary theme of be together. So our theme of Beaverton together, be together is kind of like the overarching concept for these videos that we're collecting. We have the typical groups that are submitting things from the fire department, some of the departments here internally in the city. And we're also receiving some submissions from the community itself, but we can definitely use more submissions and more content to make it a very engaging and fun product to watch at the end. We're hoping to take all that footage and the content that's submitted and to create compilation videos that would kind of be like a parade that showcases Beaverton. This is how we're together this year. So that's our parade for this year. Unfortunately, we won't be out there closing down the roads and being able to line up the streets to see the floats, but this is hopefully a good substitute for all that.
Okay.
Have any questions?
I just want to say that is a lot, and it sounds really valuable. And I hope, how do we help make it work better in our community? How can BCCI, can we help in some way to get the word out for sharing stories or?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess one ask I would have from BCCI is to help us with the engagement and how to spread the word. So, we can always tweet out something, we can broadcast messages and stuff, but I think these days people are kind of getting a little fatigued and they just have so many things coming at them that you tend to filter out and not recognize some of the things that might actually be a bit more closer to home. For example, a Beaverton parade, we're looking for Beaverton submitted content. So if you could talk to your friends or your friends of friends through chats or whatever, and maybe send a more personalized message, just being like, oh, hey, we're doing the parade thing here. We're definitely looking for more participants. That would definitely help us out.
Yeah, I would be happy to help with that too. If anyone, I'm setting up, this is a really interesting time. I should talk more about this with you later. This is really, this could be a valuable thing to do.
Nuts and bolts, where do we contribute? How do we do this?
So if you wanted to submit some content for the parade, the website would be the best place to go, beavertonoregon.gov/parade. That'll give you access to the application and the submission form that lets you submit the content or upload it from your phone or whatever media you have. And like that, I think right now we're definitely struggling like with the amount of submissions given like where we are right now. But we are still open for a week, and we do typically get that late push of content. So I'm hoping for that to happen again this year.
Other questions, anyone? Sharon, go ahead.
So a couple of questions. One, have you contacted Razier Rouchon from Tualatin Valley Creates? She had to do a chalk art festival that was turned into an unfestival, and she's very skilled at doing those kinds of things on the fly.
No, I don't think we have actually contacted her. That's a very good suggestion. If I could get that contact somehow, we'd definitely love to reach out. So.
Sure, I have that. And the second thing that I have is that I'm going to be meeting with Kevin Teeter and one of the people on the Downtown Beaverton Association about, it's kind of hard to think about this when it's 80 degrees, but Halloween and making it a virtual thing. Are you working with Kevin on that?
We saw something come through. I think they were trying to figure out, hey, how do we do like a trick or treat kind of event during this time? And I think it went through economic development at first. So that's where it's kind of sitting at the moment. I haven't officially seen anything or any action from our side. But I think what I think is that, hey, if you guys are going to have an event downtown and stuff, we should definitely figure out ways that it's best carried out with the safety procedures. For example, doing the night market virtually, we still had to meet in a room in the meeting rooms in the library and stuff. So there was some people-to-people contact. There was a lot of extra procedures we had to put into place, some safety guidelines that were generated through like the existing guidelines and what we felt comfortable. So definitely for events that involving BDA and stuff, we would love to help out and such.
So maybe you and I can talk offline then, because we're going to meet preliminarily on Wednesday, but that's not the only time we'll meet. So
yeah, I'd be glad to.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you so much for that. I was the one to ask for that specifically, so I'm amazed at what you've been able to do.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
All right, now we have Cassera with an update on the Cooper Mountain Community Plan. You have until 7:20 if you want to go that long.
Okay, I'll see if I can figure out the screen share here first. All right, can I get a thumbs up if everyone can see that? All right. So thank you. Again, I'm Cassera Phipps, and I'm a senior planner with the city's planning division. We're part of community development. I'm also the project manager for the Cooper Mountain Community Plan. So I'd like to share a brief overview of the project with you tonight. We also have some discussion questions for BCCI members, and there will be time for Q&A. So I ask that you maybe use the Q&A chat function or hold your questions to the end to raise the hand. We'll make sure that we save some time for your questions as well. So I'd like to begin with, where is Cooper Mountain? Many of you are probably familiar with this area, but when we say Cooper Mountain, there are actually 3 distinct sub areas as shown on this map here. So the first is South Cooper Mountain. This area is inside city limits. We're experiencing a lot of development in this area right now. It includes the new Mountainside High School, and I'm assuming some of you are probably involved in that process for the South Cooper Mountain Community Plan that was adopted in 2015. North Cooper Mountain, which is up here on Gassner Road, is still in Washington County, so it's unincorporated, and it's kind of not being discussed right now. We did do a concept plan for all 3 of these sub areas back in 2014, 2015. But we're really kind of working our way from South Cooper Mountain north. And so Cooper Mountain, which is the study area that I'll be speaking to tonight, was recently added to the urban growth boundary in December of 2018. It's still in unincorporated Washington County, so it hasn't been annexed into the city. It's about 1,200 acres in size. And this area is expected to anticipate at least 3,760 new homes in the future. So that includes a mix of both single family and multifamily housing types. So before I go into some of the details about the community plan itself, I just wanted to point out that there are several moving pieces here. So the community plan will develop that detailed zoning and determine how we provide new neighborhoods, parks, roads, and things that would make for great communities. Along with that is, what lies underneath the roads is how do we bring sewer and water and storm to this area to make sure that the infrastructure is in place to bring new development to this area. And then given this group's interest and expertise in public engagement, I also wanted to share some of the details about the third project, which we're calling the Inclusive Housing Cohort. So this is a partnership with Unite Oregon. They're a community-based organization who've done a lot of work with the city, namely the BOLD program. And the purpose of this partnership is to recruit and train community members from diverse cultural backgrounds to build capacity of this group to participate in the decision-making process and also develop a shared understanding of local housing issues. So Cooper Mountain is just one of those projects. I know that you also received an update from Rob Ziller regarding the Housing Options Project. So that's another kind of aspect where we'll be working with this group to seek their input into just a variety of city-led housing efforts. So our discussions with community members, including this group, will really help shape the vision for this area and the different development scenarios that we look at later in the project. So I'm going to jump to the project timeline here. It's about a 3-year process, and we are, kind of in this phase 1 research and analysis. We've spent the last several months developing our communication materials. We have completed several draft existing conditions reports, including an inventory of natural resources in the area and buildable lands analysis. We're kind of dipping our toes into what we call opportunities analysis. That includes some of the best practices work, such as, given the topography of this area and all the natural resources, how do you develop on hillsides and where there might be potential for landslides and that sort of thing. We're also doing a market analysis to look at what the market will provide kind of on its own and think about how the city might be able to incentivize certain types of development or uses that we want to see in the area. And then also looking at funding tools. So we are going to come to City Council for a work session on September 15th. And that's really to provide an update on the existing conditions work and also to discuss the working project goals, which will be shared with you next. And we have some time to discuss those as well. So the next phase of the project will really be in 2021 and extending into 2022. And that's where we'll kind of take what we've learned from early public engagement and this existing conditions and research and start to shape different options for development. Those options include the transportation network, natural resource protection, housing types. So we're going to look at how those pieces all come together, and we'll be doing community engagement to determine what that preferred alternative is. And then from there, in the third phase, is where we start developing some actual policies and code language that will be, implementing that preferred scenario. So we hope to have the plan adopted around the end of 2022, perhaps early 2023. But we don't anticipate that there will be any annexation or development until after this planning process is complete. That's a little different approach than was taken with South Cooper Mountain, where we actually annexed the area first and then did the planning process. So something to just point out. And as I mentioned, the utility plan is going to be going on kind of a parallel path. So we're coordinating with that team, which is being led by engineering staff, to figure out how we bring infrastructure to this area. And then also public engagement will be going on through all of these phases. Obviously, we've had to kind of pivot and how that looks given the situation we're in today. So we're primarily doing online engagement. We have had a series of stakeholder interviews. So with developers, property owners, some representatives from advocacy groups and our partner agencies and jurisdictions. We also held several listening sessions, one with developers, one that was more focused on natural resources. And then we have one actually this week with social service providers, such as affordable housing programs, as well as some community-based organizations. We had an online open house in July, so I hope some of you were able to at least take a look and drop by the online open house. And again, we're really asking for feedback on the working project goals and what do people want to see in Cooper Mountain once this area is developed. That's really kind of the level we're at right now, is what's your vision for this area? And then last, we have been giving some updates to other boards and commissions, including yourself. We also went to the Diversity Advisory Board and have a couple more scheduled. So I keep talking about these project goals, so let's dive into them. The first is creating equitable outcomes for residents, including historically underserved and underrepresented communities. So this really is that kind of racial equity lens that we're applying to this project. We want to make sure that the city understands where the benefits and burdens of our actions and this new plan and neighborhoods fall, and making sure that it's equitable. So what does that look like? I think it is a great question, and maybe we can touch on that later, but we're trying to identify metrics and think about, well, how do we evaluate whether we're succeeding in creating equitable outcomes for historically marginalized populations. Our next goal is to provide new housing. So we know we have that target of 3,700 housing units, but we're also looking at housing variety, not only in the type of housing, again, looking at those middle housing types as well, but also making sure that we can provide housing that meets the needs of a range of income levels. Third is to preserve, incorporate, connect, and enhance natural resources. This area is rich in natural resources. It's kind of the defining characteristic of the area. So we want to make sure that we hold on to that and kind of celebrate the natural resources, both preserving the highest quality ones and also thinking about how do we integrate nature into the built environment over time. And also looking at how to improve community resilience, both to climate change and natural hazards. We have an opportunity here, since we're developing this brand new neighborhood area, to think about the long-term impacts and building resiliency into our planning now, in hopes that these new structures and infrastructure would withstand whatever natural hazards might come in the future. And our next is to provide public facilities and infrastructure needed for safe and healthy communities. As I mentioned, there aren't a lot of utilities out here now, so we're working closely with both city engineering as well as some of our partner agencies to plan for these public facilities and infrastructure. And along with that goes the transportation system. So the existing system is primarily, it's rural. It's 2-lane roads with no facilities for pedestrians or cyclists. And so we're thinking about how to improve the transportation system really for all modes, and also, not excluding transit, making sure that any new roads or transportation corridors that are put in place are really conducive to future transit service. The community plan, or excuse me, the concept plan that was completed in 2015 identified this area as entirely residential. And so we are just revisiting that through the community plan. And that's part of that market analysis, is to look at what are viable commercial opportunities for this area. Would it be feasible to have some small scale neighborhood commercial for both employment and services? And then last, looking at feasible funding strategies. So how do we actually make this plan happen and implement it and make sure that we can turn this vision that the community helps create and turn that into reality? All right, I'm going to pause there, not just because I have a visitor, but I also wanted to hear if anyone had questions before we go into some of this discussion.
I have a question. One of the things that concerns me about a lot of this new development is that there's a lot of residential and there's a lot of affordable housing and there's a lot of housing infrastructure, but where does the commercial infrastructure come in? Where do these people go to buy food? How do they get their stuff?
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's really what made us stop and kind of reassess the land uses that were originally identified 5 years ago, because we've heard from the community through other projects, this desire for neighborhoods where you can run it to the grocery store and there are some services that are nearby. So that's where, we're really going to be coming to the community this next calendar year to ask for their ideas on, land use and transportation. How does this all come together? So part of that is certainly, is it residential or are we talking about mixed use, including commercial?
I have a question. How long do we expect what we put on the ground will be used for?
In terms of,
like we'll continue to improve the roads and maintain the roads, and then the housing will continue to.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'd say that it might come in phases. So depending on how future annexation and development kind of unfold, it may move from one part of the area to the other. So that's something that I'd say has yet to be determined, kind of that phasing of development and the annexation.
Oh, I didn't ask my question very clearly. I'm wondering what you're putting on what ends up being built, given that we come up with our plan of what it's going to look like, and then we have our code that we put in that gets real specific about what goes on the ground, right? And so for what we're putting on the ground, how long do we expect that we will be living with that in the future? So that's what it's going to, kind of the lifespan of that, the money we're investing.
Yeah, I mean, for infrastructure, we're typically talking about decades, same for new buildings. I would certainly hope that it's, 50 plus years. That's probably something that our engineering and building staff can speak to a little better than I can.
Well, we have sewer lines for 50 to 70 to 100 years.
Mhm. So let's do it right.
I have a question, Cassera.
Yeah.
What's, maybe a different way to ask that, what's your total population you're going to be putting in there? Which schools are they going to go to? And what roads are being built to support the transportation system? Because right now I don't see any new building. I mean, the Roy Rogers is being widened a little bit, but all the other roads are becoming parking lots with what's being built out by Mountainside High School right now, which is the South Cooper Mountain.
Right. Yeah. So based off of the expected number of new housing units that will come to this area over time, we'd be looking at potentially 8,000 plus new residents to this area. And so, you know, planning for public facilities is a huge part of this. You know, I think the transportation system is something that probably resonates most with a lot of community members, in particular because we're already experiencing some of that strain from development that's nearby, both in South Cooper Mountain and River Terrace. So we are looking at, you know, how do we, you know, accommodate this growth, not just with the existing roads that are in the area, but also thinking about, are there new transportation corridors that might be necessary to help move people through, you know, be it by, you know, car, walking, biking. We're thinking about all of those modes, but yeah, we recognize that, you know, the system as it is today.
Have you ever biked in Cooper Mountain?
I have not, you know.
Okay, I think you ought to take biking out because it is extremely hilly, and you know, there's no light rail corridors, so you're basically looking at cars.
Well, I'd say
and walking up and down Cooper Mountain is the grocery stores that don't exist aren't going to be there. So you're really adding 8,000 people, which is how many families is that times 2 cars? So, you know, that's what I think you need to add into your calculations here.
Yeah, I'd say we're planning for the long term. So, you know, there are a lot of things that aren't out there today. So we're not just thinking about the new homes, but all of the new services that we would want to see come along with that to support these neighborhoods.
I have a question.
Yes.
Have you asked TriMet to be involved in any of this planning? Because obviously with this 8,000 residents and all the roads, one would think that we need to have some bus transportation in there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are working closely with TriMet. They've attended some of our you know, discussions that we've had with other agencies to date. Washington County is another partner in terms of transportation, but that's really what we're you know, asking TriMet as at this point is, what are you looking for in areas that, you know, kind of are candidates for future transit service? What is that design? What's that special mix of uses? And how can we make sure that we have those pieces in place so that eventually, you know, should they look to extend service to this area, that we kind of check all those boxes.
Bintu, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was talking and I'm muted, sorry. You talked a lot about, you know, you want to have a diverse background in the community. You want to have diversity in a way that, you know, low income housing and, you know, and also like diversity of people. How is your team going about ensuring that this is a possibility? Yes, I know talking about it, but what are the action plans that you've have in place to make sure this is actually going to happen?
Great question. And that's actually kind of a question that I have for you all tonight as well, is how do we create welcoming neighborhoods? You know, a piece of that is thinking about, you know, what are the consequences of our actions? You know, not only applying this racial equity lens to our community engagement efforts, but really everything. You know, what questions are we, how are we framing questions for this market analysis? Are we excluding small businesses from, you know, being able to first know that there are opportunities here, but to, you know, to come to this area? And what types of housing are people interested in? You know, is it middle housing? Is it, you know, housing that can accommodate multi-generational families? And so making sure that we're not only, you know, broadening our engagement, but asking the right questions as well. So that might be a good segue into the discussion questions, if that's okay with everyone. I'm actually going to go out of order since Mintu, you kind of hit the nail on the head here, but what do you think that we can do to make sure that new neighborhoods in Cooper Mountain are accessible, you know, not just in terms of transportation, but, you know, the affordability and welcoming, and have kind of those characteristics that people are looking for?
Anyone have any feedback?
Well, do you have any idea on how many units will be considered low-income housing?
We don't have a specific number at this point. Affordable housing wasn't really, I'd say, identified really in the concept plan. So it's something that, you know, is really top of mind today. Just knowing what a lot of families are experiencing. You know, we have a housing supply issue, really that kind of, you know, spans the full housing spectrum, but affordable housing is definitely a piece of that. And we are looking at bringing potentially affordable housing to South Cooper Mountain. So we're looking at Cooper Mountain as well, but no set number of housing units.
Well, we do have the Metro project, the Wish Camper project, right?
Yes.
That's affordable housing?
Yes, that's correct, Councilor Arnold, and that's in South Cooper Mountain.
Can I say something?
Okay,
so diversity doesn't come from having affordable housing only, right? That's a misassumption in a way. So, but what could be useful is having kind of organizations that, you know, like it could be dance organization, art organization that embrace all people. If you have something like that planned, that you make those kind of buildings available for organizations like that. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of something right now, but I know that that brings a variety of people, right? If there's nothing there, then groups of people don't come. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that variety of actions or where they can participate, you know.
Yeah, where they get to be part of the community.
Yeah, exactly.
And right. They fit in and they can, yeah, and it fits, right. Yeah, that's important. I agree.
It's not only fitting in, it's also, if you don't fit in, you have a place to go where, you know, like, so where you can actually speak up, you know, so, or you can bring new ideas, and so that there are those kind of organizations. I just, I know this is so political, but anyway, I heard in some areas that they have organizations that bring, you know, like they have, I mean, it could be like churches also. I don't want to rule those out neither, but it could be churches, it could be just art organizations that make art available for a variety of children, where they can come with different kind of ideas. So, you know, like that kind of, those kind of organizations can actually bring people together. And then obviously also one of the other big things, I mean, in Europe, in Germany, you have little stores everywhere. I don't know how that is organized in Cooper Mountain, but if you have little stores from different kinds of countries, you know, does not need to be German, especially I don't really like German food, but any other food, you know, like it could be whatever smaller businesses that want to sell something there. You know, those kind of things also cause a variety of people to join coming there, if that's your interest. Anyway, that my 5 cents.
I definitely agree.
Oh, I was just going to say, Brigitte, it sounds like you'll want to take part in this exercise here when the time comes. You'll have some things to contribute.
Sure,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Knowing that you know, like I remember moving here, and one thing that made me so comfortable living in Beaverton was I know where, you know, I know I can get my halal meat. I know there's an African store I can go and buy my food. I feel like when people say, oh, but you're in Oregon, and Oregon is, you know, there's not really diversity. I'm like, you say that, but you need to come and see what I have here. You know, I don't have to call my sister-in-law in New York to get me my food. I can get it from Beaverton or from the Asian store. I think those are really important. It makes people be part of it. Like one thing growing up in London, you know, I remember I used to be so ashamed to go into a store because my white friends they can go into the shop and pick up their hair product to wash their hair. And I can't. I have to go to the store that's really far away in Peckham to do that. I feel like that's not diversity. In your neighborhood, you should be able to find your food, everything that you need in that neighborhood rather than going away. Because when my children grow, I don't want them to be going to a special store for that. I want them to be having everything in their community. So I think this is really interesting.
Thank you.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, Terry.
You know, and I think about question number 2, and I think, well, maybe the developers have some ideas. I mean, I think about cottage housing, where you have a small unit of land, a small dwelling unit, but you have a shared common area. Or there's co-housing, which is more of a condo kind of a style, but again, have shared open space and maybe shared kitchen facilities. Anyway, maybe those kinds of unusual, what would be different than single family residence or duplexes or something, might also be considered as a housing option that may be considered more accessible and welcoming to at least a certain subgroup of people.
It would go well on the land too, if we could make less of it impervious, because we're on a hillside, and the more concrete we have to put on the ground, the worse it is, right?
Yeah, and it seems like affordability and size are definitely related. And so with the cottage housing, you can have, you know, very high quality architecture. And again, that's my cultural bias, but in a small space. But then you could have another unit, maybe your family unit wants to be in an adjoining. Anyway, it just gives you more options.
And if we add resilience to that, you can easily do that. So we've got the houses we want there for the next 100 years.
And I've also, sorry to dominate here, but anyway, I've had this sort of pet peeve that it seems like we talk a lot of the multifamily, like apartment style dwelling units out on the main roads and leave the natural areas to the single family backyards. And that's always kind of stuck in my craw, because it seems like if you're going to be placing people in compact living quarters, having that open space adjoining them is one of those, I think, a welcoming kind of a living arrangement. And because people who have yards, front yards and rear yards, already have some open space. Right.
So Terry, does that fit in with the PUD, the planned unit development?
I think it's really more of how you set up your zoning. I mean, there is some opportunity within PUDs, but it seemed like when I look at South Cooper Mountain, you look at where the multifamily is, and it's generally along the main roads, you know, 175th and Shoals Ferry. And I think there's more opportunity to maybe have smaller clusters of commercial and maybe some higher density residential to kind of feed those commercial centers.
You know, and I also look at
throughout the development. Yeah.
Right. I also look at like the Murray Shoals area that used to be like the PGE building, and that turned into a town center football development, and whether or not the Cooper Mountain would support another additional town center, multi-use kind of thing, looking out in the future. Also doing things like, I just did an event over at Bridge Meadows, which is intergenerational housing. And they are about to break ground in, oh God, is it Tacoma or Redmond? It's one of the two of them. For another one, they have North Portland, they have Beaverton. It's very, very successful and a really good model for seniors, foster kids, low income, the whole gamut. And it fits into the community very, very well.
Yeah, so nicely designed.
Absolutely. So looking at things like that, you know, and also just to make sure that there aren't any food deserts by having just absolutely, I love the idea that it went from a concept plan in 2015 to a community plan at present. So it is a little bit more global, and I think that's going to open up a lot of conversation about actual variety of uses like you're asking for now.
That's right. Okay, if everyone's all right, I'd like to skip up to number 1, and I can go back a couple slides if that's helpful, but I was wondering if you have comments or ideas on the draft project goals. So I'll go back a couple slides here.
Are they in order of your priorities, or what are the higher priorities?
No particular order. We thought they were all really important and key components of a successful plan and neighborhood. I would say that equity is probably the umbrella, you know, goal that touches all other aspects. So, you know, if I had to pick one, that would probably be it. But really, you know, the others really, they relate to kind of different themes. We have transportation, infrastructure, funding, housing, and those all have to be there.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Joe.
Have you, are there any particular architects that are involved in this issue? Is there one architect company or a couple architect companies? Certain architect companies have maybe a holistic view rather than just building things. Have you talked to any architect firms that are interested in this kind of development?
We haven't spoken with architects. We have spoken with several private developers, and then on our consultant team, we have a number of firms who I'd say one does focus more on design, and you know, both I'd say site design as well as kind of higher level. We have a planning consultant. We have someone who's looking specifically at natural resources and how to you know, integrate those, make sure that they can still function with development. And then we also have kind of the economic piece and engineering as well.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a way of cataloging developable land, and then that which is not developable, sorry, I can't even say that word, developable, would do the enhancement of natural resources?
Yes, we actually will be rolling that that buildable lands inventory out within the next week or two, and so I'll make sure that this group receives a link to that information when it's posted. But that really is, you know, kind of how that land is categorized. If it's not buildable, it's either because it's already developed, and has very little potential for redevelopment because it's under public ownership and we don't expect there to be development such as the nature park. And then we also have a couple set asides for, right of way and public facilities, but then the rest of it really isn't developable or may have limited developability due to this existing natural resources and steep slopes.
Okay. And one other thing that I had in mind that is kind of a really far-flung thing. I know the PRCA is broken ground and in development right now and going to be opening fairly soon. But there's also been some talk about not just an arts center, but a community center, a cultural center. Is that something that needs to be in the minds of people in the city, in the center of the city, or can that be put into a more outlying area like this?
It's a great question. I think that that idea of a multicultural community center grew out of the diversity, equity, and inclusion plan, and I believe it's an action item in that. But as to the exact location, I haven't heard anything, but I think that probably is present in a lot of community members' minds, and it's something worth exploring. Does that need a very central location, or would somewhere like Cooper Mountain be a good destination for that?
Yeah. If I could just throw in a thought on that. It seems like the upper part of this property is some vineyards. That might be an interesting community garden / community center focused on, because it seems like a lot of cultures cultivate grapes. Just a thought.
Yeah, Terry, let's go.
All right, we're going to start wrapping up.
Actually, I have a question on your fourth bullet point. Have you talked to, having been a graduate of the CERT program, have you talked to Michael Memoir and his team about, we're talking about preparation within the next 50 years or sooner, a 9.5 earthquake, and have you looked at seismic studies for that area? And
sorry, go ahead,
Francis. No, I think that's, and then also probably police coverage too, because if we're talking about annexation, who would cover would be county sheriffs or the Beaverton City Police? And I assume the tax base would expand to support that. But especially the CERT issues on natural disasters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have drafted a slopes and natural hazards memo, and that was shared with Mike Muma for review. And so again, that'll be coming out in a couple weeks, but we want to make sure that that there's input from that group with expertise and the kind of the natural hazards mitigation into the plan.
Because depending, I mean, there's areas that are very susceptible to earthquakes and others that are pretty resistant, surprisingly enough. And if that's a susceptible area, mitigation costs could be significant. So
that's right. And I think there's a kind of underlying policy question there too. What are we going to even allow development in certain areas if there is a higher risk for for earthquakes or for landslides?
And I just want to thank you for bringing this to us, because it's not often that you get a chance this early on to comment. So the city and Kate, thanks the city for doing that.
Okay, I think we should have you back next month just for some wrap-up questions. Because I haven't gotten to mine at all yet. So.
Oh no, I would be happy to come again. I wanted to put in a plug for the project webpage here. So beavertonoregon.gov/CM. And again, we'll be going to City Council for a work session on September 15th, where we'll be sharing a lot of that existing conditions work. It sounds like it's of interest to this group. And then on a kind of related note, wanted to share with you that the downtown design project we'll be going to Planning Commission for a hearing on September 23rd.
Okay, everyone, go ahead and shoot Cassera your questions, or I'll work with Lani and see if we have time to have someone from the planning department back for any further questions, because I'm amazed and impressed, as always, by this group of people and the questions that we raised.
Right.
So thank you, Cassera. Well done, as always.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
And we'll turn it over to Kate. I'm sorry you only have 10 minutes. You're on mute, love.
You need to unmute, Kate.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying I need someone to make sure. Let me watch my clock. 10 minutes. Okay. Well, let's see. As far as council, there is a lot going on. We're in a break as far as council meetings, though, until the beginning of September. So we have 3 weeks where staff doesn't have to put together council meeting materials and deal with that. And people are going on vacation, and they're still reorganizing because of how COVID has changed things, as you heard about earlier today with the movement to our new form of Flicks in the Park, right? So that work all continues with staff, and they are very busy. Thank goodness we have our electronic world, and they continue to be able to, most of our services we're still providing. So, and we're pivoting. So anyways, it's a really busy time. There's a lot going on. We've got some work sessions. I don't know if you guys, did you guys get any information yet about the consultant we hired to have, to start the process to get information from various groups in our community to see the boundaries about what we want to discuss regarding police reform, Black Lives Matter, that issue. So what we're doing is we're reaching out first. Did you guys hear all this? Again, you should have been, did you get any information? Yes, no?
I don't believe so.
No, not yet. Oh, okay.
No.
Well, let me send you a,
No.
yeah, go ahead.
A resounding no. We haven't.
Okay, just a little bit short, sweet. What it is we wanted to define what we're looking at. So for instance, 8 can't wait is something people say, just pass 8 can't wait. Well, there's more to it than just pass it. And we have to make sure that what we pass makes sense with the community that we live in. So what are our police really dealing with? What is our community really dealing with? What are we doing here? And so we expanded it beyond just police reform to say public safety. So we put some boundaries around it, because public safety can be help for people with disabilities, with mental illness, with drug addictions, things like that can also be part of a better solution, right? So it's wide into that. We hired a consultant who's going to spend the next several weeks meeting with groups, and they're trying to, if you guys are curious, you can, or you have any ideas, we want to really reach as many different voices that are representative of what is really happening in our community, right? So we want to hear what people really are experiencing, and then set boundaries around what we think we can do when we get back together and start looking at it again. And then there will be wider community conversations at that point. And that'll be probably mid-September to late September, going through that period. So that's what that's all about. And let's see, how am I? Oh, I've still got some time. On a personal note, I decided not to run for the new 6th city council seat. I'm kind of disappointed, I have to admit. I wanted that, like Kathy Stanton worked for the library, and now she's got the Kathy Stanton room. I've been working for this charter change, and I wanted me to have the name of the first city councilor in position 6. So that was some self-serving motivation to serve in that seat. But the race, just the way COVID's happened, the way the race is going, I didn't want to have to spend all my time trying to figure out the best ways to get people to vote for me. There's just too much other stuff going on, like you've just heard tonight. All of this is important. All of this I hope that I can help with. So I decided not to run for this seat. I'm just going to be done, and I've got 4 more months to see what I can create in this community, and I would love all of you to bring and share your best ideas. So that's pretty much it. Any questions from anyone?
Questions or comments?
You're not going anywhere.
No, but maybe I can actually get some things done on the ground in our community instead of just talking about it all the time.
You're not leaving us. I know that.
We're not leaving us at all, Kate.
Yeah.
We're going to miss you on council, but you'll still be there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kate? Well, so we've got like 4 more times of seeing you here. We're gonna like squeeze all the good stuff out of you before we let you go.
Oh, but that's the thing. I get to squeeze all the good stuff out of you for our community. That's what I get to spend these next 4 months doing. So we'll talk more about that, Ellen. We'll have a fun conversation.
Oh, I name drop you all over the place, so I'm gonna have to buddy up to a new counselor. All right, let's move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone have any comments, questions, or changes to the July minutes?
Again, I would like to say that those were the most thorough minutes I've seen in a long, long time. Thank you, Tom.
Cheers, Jonathan.
Hey, Ellen, can you turn up your volume a bit? Is that possible?
I'm sorry, I'll try and talk louder.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah,
Thank you.
you know, an age thing.
Turn up
Jonathan, you're going to be teaching the how to take minutes thing.
Please no.
Oh. You've set the bar high.
With that, Madam Chair, I move to approve those minutes.
Okay, is there a second? Sharon, is that a second? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. The minutes pass. Thank you all. Okay, now we're going to the BCCI Subcommittee Updates. Brigitte, since Travis is not here, would you mind doing the matching grant subcommittee?
No, I don't mind. And I might have to ask for some help, and then I will take this time for my plug, if that's okay.
Yeah, you have about, let's say 5 minutes.
5 minutes, yeah, no problem. So we had 3 matching grants that we needed to approve. One was Central Beaverton, and they had requested some money for setting up cover for the dining area that they are trying to still will want to do through October 31st, and that's in the I forgot the street here. It's first east of Watson for 1 block. The businesses have pulled together resources and they provide outdoor dining there, and so that's one thing that we approved. And the other one was planting of trees, and I think that was the Highland neighborhood. And the last one was first time ever, Greenway hasn't had something for a long time. Together with South Beaverton, we approved the matching grant for a virtual pet walk, run, family fun event. So it's an activity with pets. And for that, I will quickly share again. And also thanks to the Sexton Mountain, together with another NAC, which I forgot already, for donating one of their
Southwest.
What was also Southwest? Yeah.
Neighbors Southwest.
Neighbors Southwest. Yeah, I thought so, but I didn't want. Okay, they are actually are supporting us with their 1 postcard. So, okay,
Birgit,
so
Birgit,
yes.
We also on Thursday, South Beaverton NAC approved funding and volunteers when Jen was on the call with us.
Excellent.
So
Yeah.
we're going to share whatever hours we already have booked and the dollars that go with that. So we are a true financial partner as well.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. And it's not only that, I mean, you also have been so mentoring us with this whole thing. So I want to really thank Frosty for all the help there. So there are several options for participation: virtual 1K or 5K walk or run. Post a video or a picture for different challenges like pet trick video or look alike or a costume of your pets. And then that also includes cats, please. Okay. And then we also wanted people who might want to be participating in some way. You can have an optional donation to animal rescue charities, and we will list some, but there are a variety, and each participant is entered for a drawing of prizes. There will be different prizes, obviously. And then the project goal was, or is creating community, really to make, have family orientation, but everybody can do this and they can borrow a pet. Frosty is an example for that. And then it's very flexible and inclusive, and it actually forwards also some of the pet awareness. What we found was the best time, because we needed some time to get this all together, from 20th September to 18th of October, as of 4 weeks, people have time to turn in their pictures or the areas they walked or ran or whatever. And we do that in conjunction with the National Pet Week in September, Dogs and Politics Day, and Adopt a Shelter Dog Month, National Walk Your Dog Week. And it can be done anywhere in your neighborhoods or in your backyard and whatever you want. And if anybody wants to, I have one last slide here with volunteers. We need volunteers, but really why I'm bringing this up here is also to to let your NACs know, because this does not need to be only in Greenway or South Beaverton or in Sexton Mountain in Southwest, neighbors Southwest. It can be anywhere, and you can participate. And we are also, so we need a bunch of people helping and so on. We also are not looking for donation from the companies because we don't have really a lot of money to spend for other things, but we thought we use the money that we are getting to support the local businesses and buy certificates from them. So it's a little bit different approach than what we usually do. But so please post it out there, let people know, have them flood our Facebook site, and we will send out more details how this all goes. If you have questions, please let either me or Jen know. Or yeah, that's basically it. Okay, 5 minutes. I did it.
Well
That's
done,
it.
Brigitte. And as a former chair of the Matching Grants Committee, it was amazing to see NACs working together to get this done. There's a lot of expertise out there, and it was shared willingly, graciously, and this is going to be an amazing event because of that. So. Yeah. Okay, Joe, events.
Okay. Well, I guess the big thing is the Voters Forum, October 14th. We have 5 co-sponsors: Washington County Public Affairs Forum, Beaverton Chamber, League of Women Voters of Washington County, Diversity Advisory Board from the city, and Beaverton Downtown Association. And I'll be getting out I've contacted them a couple times, and we'll be getting out another memo and asking them to send off some information about the Voters Forum to their mailing lists. And Eric, when is the deadline for the candidates to register?
Tomorrow.
Okay, so once we get that list of candidates, then we'll send that out. to everybody. And I think we've last time we talked was last week. We decided it would be the mayor's race.
Oh, excuse me.
Mayor's race, the commissioners, and the city council race. Those three basic races. Is that right, Eric?
Councilor Arnold?
I was going to say, I am assuming so, but I think we should double check on the date. For some reason, I thought it was the 29th of August was the last day, but I could be wrong.
It's tomorrow.
It is tomorrow? Okay, good to know. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, and which, yeah, as far, yeah, the mayor and then the council seat 6. Yeah.
So if you're not running, Kate, and I'm sorry to hear that you're not, but if you're not, that means that at this point, there are 2 candidates for that open seat for the city council. And we also have 2 candidates, obviously, for Beaverton mayor. And we have 2 candidates for the open seat on the Washington County Board of Commissioners. So that gives us 3 races. And if we can cover that in an hour and a half, 90 minutes to 2 hours, I think that's going to provide an awful lot of opportunity to the voters of Beaverton to the service that we provide through the Voters Forum and our co-sponsors. And Joe has been working very hard with the co-sponsors, and Lani is going to be working with TVC-TV to try to arrange a production, virtual production. Obviously, we're not going to be able to do it in person, but we're hoping that each of the co-sponsors or several of the co-sponsors will be able to pre-record questions for the candidates in different races.
Right.
So we'd like to bring that to the fore. We'd like to make it a little more interesting, television-wise, and to see how we can kind of jazz it up a little bit. Not being in an audience, not having an audience there is obviously a challenge. And I think those of you who saw our performance in last fall or in last spring will know that it wasn't perfect by any means, but we pulled it off, and I think we provided a lot of information. And we gave the candidates in each of the races that we featured in the primary an opportunity to express themselves. So I want to applaud Joe and Franziska and Lani for the work that they're doing on this, because it's taken a lot of bandwidth, but it's a very important event. And I hope that we can convince all of you to go to your respective NACs and get the questions that we need to ask the questions of the candidates in the mayor's race, the council race, and the Board of Commissioners race. And it's critical that we have good questions. So, end of story, end of sermon.
Okay, great. I got a question for Lani and Franziska. When do you think I think you said you had a date for the postcard to go out. How is that postcard coming along as far as being created?
Sure. So we are.
Ask Joe. I actually just put in the work order today with the graphic designer with a general sketch of what we're needing, because obviously the filing deadline isn't until tomorrow, but we are using the same kind of format as the Spring Voters Forum postcard, but we'll need to be consolidating the Spanish and the English into one side each, because we have some other non-Voters Forum content going on the other side. But they know that we've got a tighter turnaround, yeah, they should be getting started working on that right away.
So when do you need those logos from the 5 co-sponsors, deadline for those?
Because of the tight spacing for the postcard, because we have Voters Forum content on one side and then we have charter content on the other side. I don't know that we'll actually have room, since English and Spanish will both need to be featured, to have the logos on the postcard, but we can certainly use them in other materials on the website, etc.
Okay, all right. I can't think of anything else.
And did you have a question on anything I just said?
No.
It was on Voters Forum. I had a question. There's votes, I know there's a voting from going on, but is there anything to do with encouraging people to register for voting? Because I guess registration will close earlier before, of course, thinking about voting. So I think, how is the sensitization going on and getting people to start registering to vote? I just kind of did a big campaign on Facebook, on my personal Facebook, trying to get people to vote, but how are we doing it as BCCI, as a team?
That's a very important question, and that's a very important point. But at this point, BCCI hasn't really been involved in the effort to register people to vote. What we're doing is trying to inform those who are already registered and how they should cast their votes.
Well, not only that, we also inform the ones who are not registered what they're missing, right?
But those who aren't registered, I think we need to, those are a big, it's a big miss, because come November, people are going to realize that they want to go and vote, but hey, you didn't register. It starts with registration. You can't just vote without being registered. So maybe we need a strategy on how to encourage people to register, or like encourage them to just go and register. Right? We can't force people, but at least just something like information about that.
With all due respect, I think the bandwidth of BCCI right now should be on the voters forum and not on registration. And we're going to have to leave that to other groups. We're going to have to leave that to other organizations that we're going to push.
Well, if I could just say something.
We lost you, Eric.
Pardon?
Okay. Question is, on the postcard, can you say on the postcard, please register to vote if you're not a voter, because that postcard is going out to every household in the Beaverton area.
The deadline will have passed by the time that's in the mail.
Oh, I see.
It looks like the deadline is October 13th.
There are so many other organizations, Mintu, that are working on registration. So Eric's right. I mean, we have this is a major effort that we're doing just in the education side, which is people, if they register, they still need to understand what the issues are and who's running for what. So so I concur with Eric on that.
Actually, you know, the postcard that goes out, maybe that triggers people and to register Bintu. So maybe that would be another thing. If you get a postcard, put it on your Facebook and say, hey, you need this, you need to register. I mean, again, it's very individual, but I think
there's already stuff going out on Nextdoor. I don't do Facebook stuff for the city, but Nextdoor has already had several postings about registration. So there's a tremendous effort to get people registered.
I wouldn't be at all uncomfortable with BCCI taking up some kind of a voter registration effort in the next election.
Yeah.
You know, this is something that we could probably consider as a goal for the 2022 election. But for this election, I think we're a little bit behind the eight ball here on that one.
I agree. And I will tell you that last year I got involved with another organization where we went into the high schools and talked to the kids about those who were going to be up for the age appropriateness of registering, to get them to register, and we were handing out forms and things like that. So there are many, many different organizations, many ways, like you said, Eric, in the future, because we missed the boat on this one as far as the deadline.
I'm sorry, I was wrong. I had an earlier date for the voter registration deadline, but my latest Google search does say October 13th. So I just wanted to correct myself.
So you could add it to the postcard.
I think
just a one-liner.
We might, but again, we're really limiting. If it's really important to this group, I guess that's an important pulse for us to take. But we already we're working on the copy, and we're having a hard time cutting words already.
Oh, okay.
If I could just say something really quick, because we actually had this conversation for the Spring Voters Forum when we were, trying to figure out how to get the word out and, translation and all of those different kinds of services. And voter registration was a topic that came up in our conversations. And somebody pointed out at that time that the Oregon DMV, because of how I think it's called the Oregon Motor Voter registration law. It's from 2016. It actually automates a lot of the voter registration process in Oregon. So it's unique in that sense. Our DMV automatically kind of enroll. They don't assign people a party, but if you have any sort of qualifying interaction with the DMV, that initiates a voter registration process. So still very super important, and the need isn't the same as it is in other states where those automated processes aren't in place.
All right, thank you, Joe. Unless you have any final words, I'm going to.
No, that's it, Ellen.
Okay, this is fascinating. Just as a personal note, my husband became a citizen and I went to a ceremony, and as soon as the doors opened to let everybody out, there was a table there with people registering to vote. It was an amazing event. So yes, I think this is something the BCCI could really get behind at a different time. Okay, Terry, Land Use Subcommittee.
Okay. I'll
keep it to 5 minutes.
Oh, I can be a lot briefer.
Actually, Ellen, there is something left over from the other minutes. We had talked about possibly having Dr. Mark Lovelace do a webinar on COVID. He's not available obviously this month, but if you wanted, and there is an opportunity to view the webinars he's done for a number of businesses, he is available for the September board meeting if you wanted to have him do about a 15-minute webinar on COVID and the status.
Yeah, I think that's definitely in discussion.
Yeah.
So there's definitely been emails going back and forth about that. Definite yes. So thank you for that information.
Yes.
It'll be over by then.
You just need to let me know, and I can get that all arranged. And if not, it's okay too. But
sorry, Terry, back to you.
Okay, land use. I sent out a solicitation to our land use committee to get the ball rolling on our project to generate some background information to help NACs when they want to comment on land use actions. I heard from Gary, thank you, Gary, but I hope to hear from other members of the land use subcommittee. So I think until I get a broader range of feedback, I think I'll wait till next month to give a more full report. So land use subcommittee, I'd love to hear from you. And if I didn't ask the right questions and you have other things on your mind to talk about this project, please feel free to email me and CC everybody so we can all share ideas. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, would you be willing to share that with the broader group?
My initial questions, of course. Yeah, all I need is everybody's email address, and I think I can make that happen.
I'm betting Lani can provide.
I think so. All right, I'll do that. Thank you for the idea.
And Terry, just I don't know what the other members of the subcommittee were thinking, but my process was I was thinking I would bring this to my NAC next month and get their feedback on it with the board.
That's a perfectly reasonable approach. Thank you for that, for reminding me of that. Good idea.
Okay, Terry, and if you need more time to go over the questions and the feedback next month, let Lani know and she'll schedule you more time.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and that goes for the other subcommittee chairs as well.
You bet.
And I think we're going to need to give Joe more time as the voters forum starts ramping up.
Next month's going to be a biggie. Okay, thanks.
Okay, Lani, over to you.
Great. And I just want to add one more thing on the voters forum for the NAC reps. If you can, during your September board meeting, bring up that we need some great questions from everyone. And so if you can mention that in your report out that, and maybe even solicit some questions from the group during your board meeting, I think that would be really helpful to give those to us, since that's always, you're going to keep hearing that the weeks leading up to the voters forum. We need more questions. So if you could just make that a priority, that would be so helpful. So from the city update vantage point, There's a few more updates on the COVID-19 front. We still have the city building closures in effect in an effort to support our community's health and safety. You know, as you know, the cases have still been rising at the state and county level. So we are doing our part to keep things safe. And we're also just encouraging community members to wear face coverings, watch their social distance, and wash hands frequently to help things get better. And just know that most city services are still being provided remotely by phone or online. Some buildings are providing limited in-person services with distancing and other safeguards. And so it's gonna be a case-by-case basis for what service you're looking for. The Beaverton building is offering in-person visits, for example, for passports, and the Beaverton Municipal Court has reopened in a very limited capacity for specific instances when remote technology just isn't going to cut it. We do have a website address that you can get the latest information on our available services and some community resources and virtual meetings and events and activities in this regard. And that website address is beavertonoregon.gov /coronavirus. And that's updated regularly with all the latest details. And then on a really cool front, the Beaverton City Library has launched the BCL to Go, which is a contactless curbside pickup service at the main library. This is happening 6 days a week, and library card holders can make an appointment to pick up their BCL main or Murray Shoals branch holds at either the main library or at the main library, as well as book bundles for kids consisting of 5 to 10 books geared towards a specific reading level. And to make an appointment, you would just go online. It's beavertonlibrary.org /BCL to go. And lastly, book returns are being accepted at the book drop at both branches for your convenience. And we don't have any meeting room reservations happening at any of our city facilities right now, including the library. And the last item, we just wanted to give an update. You already heard from Kyung from the events team, just the community events that are happening virtually. And so we've got everything on our website on beavertonoregon.gov. Gives more details about the virtual flicks that are happening later this month and how you can participate in the virtual parade. And we hope that you'll take time to check it out. The virtual parade, there's so many different ways, as he mentioned, to participate in that. So it's a fun way to still keep things moving along in this COVID-19 environment. And so we really appreciate your patience, and we would love your help in getting the word out about our events as well. We have noticed, as Kyung said, there's just a kind of a fatigue out there with online. And so, you know, we can push things out through our social media, but it really helps when you help share our events to your contacts and help get the word out. That's really one way that you can just be an incredible help to us. And so with that, do you have any questions?
I got called for jury duty yesterday.
Wow.
I'm ready. I actually was Saturday.
Wow.
I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Throw the book at them.
Are
Wear
they
your mask.
are they setting up the courtrooms any differently with COVID, or do you know how that works?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
The letter that I got said that the courtroom is way different and you have to wear a mask and you have to do all this other kind of stuff. But
We need a report out, Eric, next time.
I want a selfie.
it won't be
It's a selfie.
so, you know,
Throwing a book.
yeah, they called me and I'll be there in October, and they wanted to know if I wanted to be on more than one panel, and I said, hell, I'm 71. I don't have anything better to do. Why not?
Eric,
Masks may not fit.
Moving on jury duty in October.
that's right. Eric, what you should do, I'm going to put my retired ICU nurse's hat on here. If you go in with a mask and a face shield, the efficacy rate for lowering transmission goes way up, way up.
Oh, okay.
So like an N95 mask, right?
N95 plus face shield.
Okay. Oh, you know what I did that you guys, when we just talk about masks, this is an N95 mask, right?
Yep.
Except it's like to stop paint smell from coming in and things like that. It's a construction one. So when you blow out, it just goes out through this little hole.
The other thing is too, have you ever seen those towels that people wear?
Okay.
What they do is they split the viral load and you are actually transmitting more. So
Oh my
do not wear
gosh.
those.
Oh, geez. See, that's the kind of stuff we ought to be making really clear to people. Anyways.
I'm a kind of a nerd on that kind of stuff. So
Well,
sorry.
hopefully we're going to get Frosty's colleague in to have a presentation about this, and maybe we can make sure that that's.
Sharon, you know Dr. Lovelace, don't you?
From a very long time ago.
Yeah.
So
He was just-
we'll work on that, and we'll make sure we have some good information going out that can therefore be distributed out throughout the community.
I
Okay,
interviewed
any
Dr.
questions?
Lovelace back in the day, Frosty, so he's.
Oh, you remember him?
He's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, very long time.
Yeah. He ran, for those that don't know, he ran the HIV/AIDS clinic for OHSU, referred the number of patients to me, and in the days when there was no oral therapy, and he was a state epidemiologist for AIDS and HIV, and now he's consulting Multnomah County in the state. And he also worked for Roche and Genentech and was their lead virologist. So, plus Mark and I are working on some therapies right now that we'll be testing at Oregon State College of Pharmacy. Cross your fingers.
His resume is very impressive, as is Frosty's, if you didn't know.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure we're working on that. So thank you for that, and thank you for the PSA. We do need to move along to the meeting's actionable items. Joe, do you have that?
I guess that's me. Sharon, you keep me honest on this, all right? The two main ones, of course, is the NAC Leadership Meeting on August 25th, which is tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Now, I assume all NAC members will get an invitation to that. Is that correct, Lani, Francisca?
Yeah, so all the board members have received an invite.
Okay, great. And then Voters Forum, obviously October 14th. We're working on that one. Now, going back to the beginning of our discussion, from Kim Park, trivia movie night, 26th and 27th, Flicks at the Fountains, the parade, Beaverton Celebration Parade, be able to put into the website your pictures and crafts and things that help that parade really be a virtual parade. Cooper Mountain, September 15th, report to the council by staff. And also, if you want, they want their feedback, you want feedback, so tell them what you want, what your vision is of the area. And Kate, your consultant, I didn't quite get it. Was it just about police reform, or was there other things on that consultant that you hired?
It's to set up to have community conversations, which was started by police reform, but we're putting it to the width of public safety. And you'll hear more about it. Let's see, wait, no, maybe not. I'll make sure that I've got some information I'll send to you. And the Human Rights Advisory Commission is also doing some hearings. I've got an email I wrote for one of the NACs. I'll send it to you guys as well.
Okay. Let's see, then the COVID Pet Cup. Tell me, Bridget, is there a deadline for that?
No, there's no deadline. It's just that if you want to participate between the 20th of September and 18th of October, but if you want to help or be involved, just contact me.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, October 13th, deadline for registration for voters. And Terry says email her with some ideas, right? You're going to get out something. Okay. Okay, voters forum. And Sharon, did I miss anything?
I think you got it.
All right. Well, I think that's it, Ellen, for me.
Anyone else? Any final thoughts or questions? All right, then. It's been an honor. We are adjourned. I'll talk to you next month.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Okay,
Thanks. Bye.
Great.
Go for it.
What a crew.
Yeah. Thanks.